Well, the weather we know is really nice this weekend, and many are trying to fight cabin fever by heading out to city and county parks. But now some hiking trails and parks are just getting too crowded. So this is a look from this morning at North Mountain Park. This was about an hour or two ago, loaded with people. We're told Bartlett Lake is at capacity now, and the trouble is many people aren't even practicing, Jamie, those social distancing rules.
Our story about that on our Arizona Family News app getting a lot of attention among those fired up. Arizona native Meghan McCain. She sent out several tweets essentially saying, "Come on, Arizona, we're better than this."
And Meghan is joining us now from New York City. Meghan, we appreciate you joining us on the phone this morning. Tell me why that particular story really is striking such a chord with you about all of the folks crowding our beautiful parks and areas.
Well, I think, just being in New York, the cases right now of people infected are around 8,000 and rising. And now that there seems to be a little more access to testing, Governor Cuomo is saying that the cases are just going to continue rising, and we haven't even reached anywhere near the peak of how bad this is going to get. And in New York City, people are completely on lockdown. Only essential businesses like grocery stores and banks are currently open. And look, I've lived in New York City a pretty long time, and this is by far the most debilitating, fearful time, other than, I guess, post 9/11, from people that I know that were living in New York City on 9/11 would say. And I think that New Yorkers are really trying, for the most part, to do our due diligence and make sure that we can flatten the curve as much as possible. And I think just because you aren't, living in a major city, and the numbers in Arizona, I believe, are around 100, a little bit more than 100. And I think just because you aren't living in New York City doesn't mean that this can't spread to the rest of the country in a significant way. And when you see pictures coming out of, spring break in Florida with young kids not taking it seriously, when you see pictures in Malibu, like I saw yesterday, it's not just Arizona, of people not social distancing, not quarantining, socializing out and about. It's very, very, very dangerous. And I think for whatever reason, the messaging of how dangerous this is isn't reaching the rest of the country. And I understand because, of course, everyone wants to go out and socialize. Everyone wants to be outside. Everyone wants to be around their family. But we're talking about a global pandemic that is only going to get worse.
Meghan, for folks who don't know, you are the daughter of our longtime former Senator John McCain, a legend here in Arizona.
Thank you.
And thank you to you and your family. And thank you for speaking with us today. We're looking at this big stimulus package tomorrow. What would your dad do in this situation?
Oh, I don't know, but I was talking about this with my husband yesterday. What would he do if he were still here? And I do think, for whatever reason, there have been people and politicians in the country that have not taken this as seriously as soon as I would have been comfortable with. Even, I would say so far as coming out of the White House, the messaging significantly changed in the past 10 days than it did originally coming out. You had President Trump saying it's just like the flu, it's going to be okay. And then obviously anyone who has access to the internet can see what's happening in Italy and China, and the videos coming out and just how petrifying they are. And I don't know what exactly he would have done, but I do know that he would have been sounding the alarm a long time ago. And I'm sure I would have gotten in a fight with him about socially quarantining as well, because he hated being inside.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys, we would post those beautiful pictures from sitting on a bench in Cottonwood, doing some social distancing from the world. How's Mom? How's Cindy?
She's really good. I will say my family has taken this very seriously. They've been socially quarantined or isolated, whatever terminology you want to use, for I think over 10 days, maybe even up to 2 weeks, and they're staying healthy and staying remote and not going out. And I understand it's a huge sacrifice that is being asked of Americans right now. I understand how difficult this is. I've been FaceTiming with basically every single person I know, and every single person I know is having a really hard time with this, because who wants to be inside cooped up and not have the ability to socialize and go places and go to sports events? But I'm telling you, I personally have been impacted. I know not just one, but quite a few people at this point who have COVID-19 and are really, really in it right now. And it is a very, very scary disease. And I think, again, the idea that in New York City we are running out of hospital masks and ventilators and there's not going to be enough gear for our healthcare workers to have when dealing with this. It's just because it's happening in New York City doesn't mean it can't spread to the rest of the country in this significant of a way. And it is impacting the elderly at a absolutely huge rate. And the idea that it's okay if I don't get sick because it'll just be an older person that'll get sick is so intensely inhumane and gross to me. And I don't know if it's because people are just not in the direct line of this the way New Yorkers are, and people in in Westchester and people in the rest of the country, because it's being hit in California and New York at a much more significant rate. But that doesn't mean it can't happen in Arizona in the same way. And look, I went out to lunch 2.5 weeks ago with a friend of mine. This has happened very quickly, the socially quarantining. And I think just because it hasn't happened in Arizona in this way doesn't mean it's not coming.
Meghan McCain, we appreciate you joining us on the phone this morning. Stay safe. We know you've got your husband there, and I'm sure you're going to be keeping close contact with your mom. But here in Arizona, the cases went up by about 50 today as well. So we're seeing that as the number of cases continue to rise here in the state. Thanks for your time.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Thank you.